Hey guys, Eric here, and today I'm going to look at the Grail-Scale books and where they rank for me. Welcome into SideQuest Comics, and today we're going to look at some Grail books, something that I call my Grail scale, and I'm going to give you guys a couple of my top Grail books that I want to chase after in my comic collecting. And I wanted to do this video for a while just as a way for you guys, the viewers, to get to know me a little bit more and see what are my big books that I like to chase after. But before we get into that scale, if you guys could give me a like, a subscribe, and a comment down below, I really appreciate it. And don't forget to head over to Instagram and follow me over there. I have right now in the process of going through Halloween spooky covers for the month, so you can check those out over there. All right, so I know some people do like top fives, top tens of their Grail books, and I have about 5 that I'm going to do. And I actually have some, I guess, honorable mentions that I could say. I actually have not really thought much about this, and just recently with the channel, starting the channel and stuff, I kind of started thinking about it, and wanted to focus a little bit more and actually put it to pen and paper. What some of my books would be. And I wanted to share those with you guys. So like I said, you guys can get to kind of know me a little bit and what some of my interest in comics are. So a lot of this video is basically going to be me going through what are my big books, what are my big Grail books, where do they fall on the Grail scale for me. And some of them start as I think they start as side quests, and then turn to a main quest type thing for me, a Grail book, if you will. And I think some of these can fluctuate a little bit, in when you're chasing them. Now, I already have some runs complete, when I'm trying to go after these books and complete them. It was one of the things that got me back into it. And I almost want to say those were some of my Grails, my quests that I wanted to do. And I have completed some of those. So I've found new ones to replace those. And like I said, some of them have shifted a little bit. Like I'm still working on my Wolverine volumes. That's one of them. Ghost Rider's fairly recent. I started with the volume 2, and then I started doing the volume 3, and it kind of expanded and exploded from there. And I also started diversifying a little bit. I was always a Marvel guy, but I started looking at some of the DC books just to give my collection some variety. And I started looking at, Firestorm, because I just happened to find a bunch of them. And I'm like, well, these are kind of easy to get. Aquaman was another one. I mentioned that in a previous video that, I see those a lot and they're affordable. Yeah, there's big books there that, could end up on the Grail book if I really want to, chase those. But part of my thing with the channel is that I'm just getting books because I like the art, I like the characters, they look cool and fun, and I'm not really actively questing them out because they're keys, and stuff like that. But of course, there are some that I want to get, and those are some of the ones that ended up on my list here. All right, so to keep this short, I'm just going to run through these real quick. I'm going to start at top, my number 5, and just work on down. And, I think I'll start with those honorable mentions first, just to start off. And I don't have the books, of course, because those are the ones that are my Grail books, on my scale. And I'm going to I'll put it over here, like maybe a pop-up of the actual book type of thing. And that way you guys can actually see and what I'm chasing. Okay, so I had to move over a little bit, so there's room over here for the books that I'm going to pop up. So let's start with my honorable mentions. So I'm going to start with number 7. I actually have 2 honorable mentions. I'm cheating here. I'm making up my own rules, whatever. So number 7 is going to be Aquaman number 1 from 1962. This is a recent collection that I started chasing. I've mentioned before, on this video and other ones, that I started finding a bunch of these in the discount bins and stuff like that. And actually, I think there's a show coming up next month that there's a specific dealer that I want to go see, because I think I bought my oldest Aquaman from him for under 20 bucks. It's a reader copy. It's not fantastic, but it's in the collection. And the thing is, if I ever want to upgrade it, I have that option, but I can actually say I have da 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 number of Aquaman. And going to number 6 now is another fairly recent addition to my questing. It started with volume 2 of Ghost Rider, but I really want to get Ghost Rider's first appearance. The first appearance is in Marvel Spotlight, and that's from 1972, and it's number 5 of that series. It actually wasn't his own series. So yeah, he had it was a couple issue story arc, and then eventually he did get volume 1 of Ghost Rider. So that one's on the list too, but it's a little further up. But yeah, I want to get his first appearance. All right, so now we're getting into the nitty gritty of my Grail scale. So I'm going to start with, this is number 5. And number 5 is not really specifically one book, but it's actually a series, a volume, a couple volumes actually, for that matter. Now, Wolverine is one of my favorite characters. I don't know, you can see I have Wolverine all around me. And when I got back into comics a couple years ago, I got renewed in my interest in the character. And I was like, I have a lot of his series from, back in the 80s and 90s, but I didn't complete it. So I did want to complete it. I have completed that volume 2. And then I went back to volume 1 because I was like, well, I have the graphic novel, but I don't have the individual issues. So you can see one of them right there. And it's one of those things that I wanted nice copies of it too. So I quested those ones out. Well, then that turned into, let's get all the volumes. So I think at this point I need one more for volume 3, and I think 4 more for volume 4. The rest of them, I have all of them. And then, of course, his current run that he's doing, that's a monthly thing that eventually they'll probably stop it, start a new volume like they always do. But then it's like, my wife's like, well, what are you going to do when you have all the volumes? So I'm like, well, I guess I'll look at minis. I'll look at one-shots. I mean, Wolverine's one of those things. He's one of those characters in Marvel that's like Spider-Man, or even you can compare it to Batman. There's a ton of titles. And I find that his fan base, either you love him or people just don't care for him because they think he's oversaturated. But you can say the same thing about Batman. You can say the same thing about, Spider-Man, Superman, those mainstream iconic characters for the comic company. So that is my number 5. It's not really a book, but it's a volume. It's a series. I want to get all of those volumes, and then I don't know, we'll see where we go from there. Now, number 4 is very similar to the last one. So number 4 is X-Men related. I'm a big X-Men fan. That was the first book I started collecting. And once again, getting back into comics, I was like, I want to finish the Claremont run. I want to get every issue that Chris Claremont, was a writer for. Starting back from 94, going up to, I think it was like 3 something. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll probably put a little note in here when I'm editing. But again, it's one of those things. I want to get that full volume, and then we'll see about getting the rest of the X-Men, because who knows? I mean, he wrote for 15 years on the X-Men, so that's a lot of books. Update: since I started doing this Grail, I need 2 more for Chris Claremont. I need issue 109 and I need 112. So early on in his writing career, and I think that 109 is going to be a big book. I've been kind of watching some on eBay and different online sites, and it's a first appearance of the Guardian from Alpha Flight. So it's out there. There's plenty out there. It's one of those timing things, finding that right book. Being that it's a kind of a big key book, I'm kind of being a little more selective about it. Not super selective. I mean, I don't need a graded one. I don't need a, near mint. I want something that looks nice. So eventually I will get that one and 112. And then uh, since doing this questing, I was picking up other issues of the series, further down the line. And if I get these two, I'll have a straight run from 94 to 544 of X-Men. Then my plan was to go, into the 60s, the original team, which I have issues here and there. So, and I'm probably going to get the reprints that they did from, what was it, 67 up to 93. And I mean, yeah, they're reprints, but they still keep the number sequence. So I'll probably get those ones too. Okay, so now we're getting really into the nitty gritty. This is number 3 on my Grail scale. And number 3 Grail book for me is going to be X-Men number 1. 1963, original first appearance of the team, first appearance of Magneto. Now, I have tons of reprints of this. I got like maybe 3 of number 1. And I've come across some, decent copies of number 1, that were graded. Now, I don't know for sure if I want a graded copy of this or if I just want a raw copy. Now, I've seen some raw copies and boy, are they loved. So I don't know if I want one quite so, worn out type of thing. I mean, it's an old book. I have plenty of reprints that if I want to read it, I can just read one of the reprints. And so I'm kind of partial to a graded one just because it's going to be sealed and it's going to preserve it, which is kind of what I wanted, why I want the book is I want it as almost like an heirloom, I guess you call it. So that one, I think it's going to be one of the things I'm going to put money aside. I'm already starting with that one and some of these other books on this list that when I do come across a good sale on one or a deal, like at a comic show or something, I can readily put money down on it or start, bargaining with a seller type of thing. So that is number 3. Number 2, no surprise, another X-Men book, but it is Giant Size X-Men number 1, 1975. Once again, I have tons of reprints of this. So another one, I don't know if I want it raw, don't know if I want it graded. I could probably go either way on both this one and the X-Men number 1 because I'm not all that super concerned about the grade. Yeah, it's a big book and I would like to have a nice copy, but like you guys can probably see it here. I have Phoenix's first appearance. And that was another one of those things. I didn't know if I wanted a graded one. I came across one that was raw. It was a good deal. I got it through my local store. And, being a bigger priced book, they let me actually make payments on it. So, I was making monthly payments that eventually, I paid it off. And actually, my wife paid it off as a Christmas gift. And, I'm happy with having the raw. It's a nice copy. Eventually, I think what may happen with that book, and even if I get these other books, number 1 and Giant Size X-Men, it might come across where Chris Claremont's doing a signing at CGC. Maybe I'll send it in and get it signed. Now, unfortunately, I just missed him doing that to send in, the Phoenix first appearance. So I will just have to keep my eyes open for that again. And who knows, maybe I'll have the other ones by then. Now we're to the top book. Now this one, some of these other ones may fluctuate a little bit, maybe just swap back and forth, or maybe if I get one of these, something will move up, or I'll find something new to replace it with. That's a big book, like I don't know, maybe first appearance of Silver Surfer or something, or Doctor Doom, something like that. But this is number 1. This one will never change probably until I get it. And as I'm looking behind me, you can see one of the reprints. That's the newest reprint that they have. And I actually got the foil version of that too. So this one I think is the one book I have the most reprints of. I have these ones from this past year. I have one from the 90s. I think they reprinted it sometime in the 80s too. So I got a couple of them. But that is Hulk 181. That's right. First appearance of my man. Let's see. I got one right here. My man, Wolverine, the Knucklehead, Bubs, as I like to call him. 1974, first appearance of Wolverine. So Wolverine, like I mentioned, is my favorite character. I'd love to have his first appearance. I mean, it was a big achievement for me to get his limited series, to complete his first ongoing series. And I kind of feel like to complete my Wolverine collection, if you'd want to call it, I kind of need to get his first appearance. Now, I haven't decided on 180 of the Hulk, which is like his first cameo. He appears in one little panel box at the end of that story. Also, I have reprints of it, so I might be okay with just the reprints. We'll see. That actually may replace this one, or it may get bumped down on the list type thing. Right now, it's on the list, but it's way, way back there. So, scale-wise, it's not high up. So eventually it will probably go up, but we'll see. But yeah, Hulk 181, 1974, first appearance of Wolverine is my number one Grail book. There you have it, guys. There is my Grail-Scale Grail books. I wanted to do this, like I said, so you guys can get to know me a little bit, see what kind of books I'm interested in. I kind of, go this way, that way, just based on the art, what looks cool. But I do have books that I am questing after. So let me know down below in the comments, what are your favorite picks that I have on my scale here? Do you guys have these books? Are you guys chasing these books yourselves? What are some of your top 5 books that you're chasing? Maybe you'll give me some new ideas to shift some stuff around. So make sure you guys give me a thumbs up, a subscribe, a comment. I really appreciate the comments to see what you guys have to say about this video, and even share the video. I appreciate all the love in the comic community. And until next time, when you guys are out there questing for your Grail books, happy questing. We'll talk to you next time.